remember Rob talking to me in early 2012 about doing a superhero film.
So, at some point, Rob got this idea for doing a parody of The Dark Knight Rises for the Series 2 finale of Cinematic Venom. And I had worked with Rob before on a few of his videos, occasionally playing myself, sometimes playing God, and so I was brought in pretty early on as a producer, which basically meant I provided some input on the script, and occasionally Rob would beg me for money for costumes, and I'd throw him a few bones.
But the movie that we did,
he invited me to do this movie with him. And I was like, wow, okay, this is going to be interesting.
It was a brainchild idea with him and Alex.
I had grown bored of movie reviews at this point. I was still making them during all of this drama, but I felt like everyone did them and they were all the same. So I thought, you know what, Dark Knight Stumbles, let's just end it there.
I thought it was pretty cool that a lot of us were getting together making this project called Dark Knight Stumbles.
What a wonderful title.
When Rob had spoke to me really about being the Adam West 60s Batman, at the beginning I wasn't too sure, because it wasn't because of the character, it's just that I thought of my personality I'd suit better as a Robin.
We did a few script rehearsals over Skype, and those were a lot of fun. Often led to a lot of ad-libbing, because when you get that many smartasses together in one place, that's just gonna happen. There's no way around that. But it was all good fun. It really was.
Eventually I just practiced to do like a 60s camp style voice, and then once I got used to the character, I think it was a lot of fun playing. I definitely days enjoyed filming.
In early 2013, that's when we did the shooting, and unfortunately the camera that was used wasn't in studio condition. We had gone over the script several times going into it. The problem was that was WrestleMania weekend, so we only had a finite amount of time to really film that. So we had to film more in Florida when I took a vacation down there with Alex, who would play Bane. The movie was pretty much in developmental hell for about 2 years.
As far as getting into character, I really didn't have to do much because, as you may have guessed, I actually am God. And I know what you've done.
I definitely enjoyed back then doing the script rehearsals on Skype, and I think that was how I learned really to find my character's voice really on.
My parts were always a bit challenging because I never really had anyone to act against. Even if I was technically in a scene with someone else, that other person was not really there. I was never in the same room, I was just chroma keyed in. So I just had to imagine how they were going to react, which is not always easy to do. And I had to set up that damn green screen every time, and that's always a pain in the ass, especially when Rob asks for reshoots because he's changed the script, and I'm pretty sure he did that on purpose just because he knows how much I hate setting up that goddamn green screen. Don't lie, Rob, I know you did.
Tim Burton, I'm sorry. For the record, I know this looks nothing like Tim Burton.
It's harder with men.
Only Percy with that. You look ridiculous. Things I'll do for you, assholes. Snapshot, just for YouTube.
I don't got a black lipstick, so I'm gonna have to create some.
I quit. I don't know, it feels like I'm missing something. Maybe draw tears from each side. It is actually an Edward Scissorhands wig, by the way.
Yeah, I kind of knew it was going to be a little bit amateurish. I kind of got that, and I was aware from the beginning that his ambition was outstripping what I think he had the ability to do. But it didn't really hit me until I arrived just how cheap it was going to be. I remember when he gave me like one of the main roles, because I'd done acting previously, nothing huge, but I'd done acting previously. He gave me one of the main roles, and it was playing like Two-Face. Now, I'm not really into comic books. I don't really know much about comic books, but I knew this character and I knew the whole deal. And I was always like, well, how are we going to do the face thing? And at first I thought it was going to be something like painted on or something like that. And then he was mentioning about this prosthetic thing, like a mask. And I'll be honest, I've got a bit of a phobia about putting things on my face anyway. I'm just kind of not a big fan of that. Glasses is okay, but I'm not really into like masks and stuff. So except for COVID, that's okay. I arrive and he's saying, I've got this thing, it's going to fit well onto you, it'll be okay. And then just over time it's like, actually it's probably not going to fit so well. And he's just slowly talking backwards from it. And then I arrive and we put this thing on and it just was awful. Just hanging off of my face. It looked bad. Everything about it was awful. And then I'm wearing this outfit that is just ill-fitting. Looks like someone's cut it from a tablecloth. It's got like no shape. The fabric's just awful. Just the whole thing looked so cheap. And yet at the same time I was like, it's impressive. This guy's managed to find all these outfits for everyone.
I really enjoyed it because I met some really great people there during the filming as well. So I think with Dark Knight Stumbles I'll always have like a good memory of meeting some great people, and I just had a lot of fun. I think the filming, even though we did have to get up ridiculously early sometimes, it was a lot of fun and I did enjoy it. So.
I did have a lot of fun playing God, and really, who wouldn't? Though the version of God that I play in this movie is kind of a dick. Especially towards the end, that got really dark. Clearly, Rob was going for more of an Old Testament vibe with this movie. Rob has some interesting interpretations of God, to be sure, especially for an atheist.
So, Craig, you play about 5 characters in this film. Which one's your favourite?
Mr. Freeze.
Why Mr. Freeze? Why not Krazza?
Well, Mr. Freeze, I think there's a lot more dynamic to his character and a lot more, character development I can divulge into. I honestly believe that I am Mr. Freeze just by going into his character.
Oh, really? Do you think there's more writing in Mr. Freeze?
Oh, definitely. There's a lot more, plots and more character development. Just a more interesting character.
Yeah. What about Krazza?
Krazza. I don't think the audience are going to get him. I think he's a little bit too,
shabby.
He's a bit of a dark.
For it might hit some of his comments might go over some people's head.
Got a bit of a dark past, hasn't he?
I can't even tell what his background is. He's so dark.
What about you're playing Michael Keaton's Batman? What about him?
You thought these
Batman?
scissors would do it, but no.
And you're also playing Craig. Now, how did you get into the character of Craig?
Well, I just visualised that I was playing myself.
During the filming, it was very tiring and exhausting, especially since I was doing this and plus I had to go pick up our son from school. So I was very tired and very exhausted. It was even after the end of it, I couldn't rest or anything like that. And at the same time, I had fun doing it. That's the thing, I did.
It was messy, full of drama, disorganized, but ultimately had a lot of ambition. And that's kind of what I think drew myself and so many other people to the project. It was very ambitious, because you get so many of these people who, what I would label as bedroom creatives, who talk a big game about wanting to do big things, but they never get made. Everyone was kind of having fun, and I think Rob and his friends his local friends who he had spent more time with in person, they obviously had a lot of in-jokes and they were having a lot of laughs, but I think for those of us who weren't actually part of that group who had sort of come here to do this thing, we were kind of thinking, what have we walked into? And you can't really back out. Once you've started something like that, you're like, well, it's an amateur project, everyone's kind of having fun, it's all unpaid, so it's I can't really back out of this, but okay, let's see it through. And then I remember watching the footage back and being like, this looks really cheap, there's no lighting, the lighting hasn't been done at all. It became clear that Rob didn't even know what camera angles he wanted for a lot of this stuff. He just kind of had this script, and then the script, we were actually actively pointing out while we were recording, this script is full of contradictions. It's like characters are saying things that totally contradict what they said 2 lines earlier.
So we're going to be doing a few of these, are we?
Probably only one more. Hopefully one more.
Yeah.
I don't think we've got much more to film.
No.
A lot of
Can I get that really ridiculous speech of yours?
Yes.
One where sort of it's a tongue twister in English grammar.
It became clear that setting himself up as the writer, director, actor, whole thing, he'd bitten off a lot more than he could chew. And so for me, what was impressive there is that he took it as a learning experience. You know, he went away and he said, okay, this doesn't work. He finished the movie anyway because he put so much effort into it, but he appeared to have, you know, learned from that.
I accepted suggestions on set, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was never bossy. I didn't mistreat anyone on set.
I was just laughing how you said action.
I am so sorry. Try again.
Right, okay.
Action! I was a very immature, I was like a kid at Disneyland, just running around with a camera. It wasn't very structured. You know, I had fun, and a lot of other people told me that they had fun as well. So it was an experience.
The Dark Knight Stumbles has all sorts of problems, but despite all these setbacks, I did have a lot of fun with it, and I still think we got some good stuff out of this. There are some very funny moments in this movie. We didn't have much money to work with, and cast members committing to the film and then dropping out certainly didn't help matters either, although in a few cases it did add to the humor a bit, especially the scene where Craig basically has to do a fight scene with himself. Yeah, I have to give him all the credit in the world for that because he committed to that so hard. All things considered, I think we did okay.
So do you want to know what our crackhead lighting team looks like? It's Adam West holding a lamp with another lamp on a desk chair. We run a tight ship around here. Craig, how do you feel about this important acting role in your Oscar-winning career?
I want to get a golden raspberry one.
He was a really big perfectionist. He wanted everything to be perfect. And it's like, if you make one mistake, nope, gotta do it again. Sometimes during filming, I felt more like one of his actresses more than his wife.
Filming the movie was a nightmare.
One of the scenes that I remember doing very much with Rob for the movie was one where, you know, so we've all just arrived, we're wearing these absolutely awful costumes and feeling like a bunch of real fools. And then it's like, okay, we now have to go and shoot a scene out in like a play area, like in a field, a public field down the end of the street.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. There's no dialogue at the moment. I'm just filming this because I want people to take in exactly what today looked like.
And we all just walk outside of his house in a relatively rough area. You know, you've got the chavvy kids running by on their little push bikes and everything. And we're standing there looking like a bunch of pillocks. And there was this kind of moment, all right, let's go all walk over into a public space and act out these scenes together. And just as we were walking over there, it was kind of, yeah, I think one kid actually rode by and said something ridiculous on his push bike. And we just kind of all looked at each other and we were like, you know what though, we're kind of having fun here. And everyone was kind of laughing and giggling and just, I'm thinking to myself in the back of my head, oh God, I hope no one ever sees this movie. But at the same time thinking, you know what, this is kind of a fun day. And that to me was one of the big things. There was always this sense of camaraderie around the project. And I think that was born of the fact that everyone was just really taken by his ambition. You know, when we said things to him like about, you know, this script doesn't make sense, or Rob, have you actually considered when someone walks into the room where they're going to be in the next camera shot? Have you thought about any of this? We weren't saying it to slag him off. We were saying it because we kind of all wanted him to get something decent out of it. But ultimately, the movie wasn't what he got out of it. I think the lesson was what he got out of it, and that moved on into his future work.
Just a normal day in Northampton.
Yeah.
Batman and a guy in green walking around.
Oh, you're filming?
Yeah, I'm filming.
Hi, I was Poison Ivy. I'm exhausted. And there's them 3 idiots up there. Except for Daddy. I love her.
Oh, I lost my belt then.
I think we promote a good image. Alfred journeyed into the forest.
You got mud on the bottom of your trousers.
Yeah, that's because my trousers are so big. This is a truly bizarre scene.
Welcome to the Twilight Zone.
This is Rob's home.
Hi.
Hi, Arnie.
Hi.
How'd you feel?
Exhausted.
Was it a good day filming?
Yeah.
Was it a good day filming?
Craig really wants to shoot the chav scene, so we should get that out of the way.
We're doing something indoors another time, aren't we?
Yeah, Craig really wants to do the chav scene,
Oh, okay.
so get that out of the way.
It's okay if we get a can of Red Bull.
Harold's hugging the whole lot.
Awesome.
Your iron zip in there. The zip is like right next to your cock.
Do I have to be in costume?
Yeah, you'll be in the scene.
Do I have to be in costume?
Anyone else?
Everybody else is asking.
You're always in costume. Can I have Red Bull, please?
Our camera's only got like 45
Should we get our product placement?
Product placement.
Red Bull, it gives you rings.
Red Bull,
Hi.
it gives you
Hi.
bat wings.
Red Bull gives you the shits. Is that why you're sweating like a bitch? Because of the Red Bull?
Yes.
do an Arnie advert for Red Bull. Go on, go on.
It gives you wings.
Red Bull, it gives you wings.
Everyone else knackered?
No, I'm energized. I could do it every day.
I think my favourite part so far was when we all cheered and then ran back to beat the shit out of each other again. That cheer was awesome. Let's go back to kicking each other's asses.
What time's Eric coming back now?
When
It's in the hallways.
First he asks when the children leave school, then he's asking when Eric comes back. Adam West. Damn you, Adam West.
I don't.
He wanted to stay out there when the kids showed up.
I didn't know.
What's a different time of your Batman, okay? Let's leave him alone.
I would say after 3 years of doing that film, I really enjoyed my time doing it. Is the quality great? No, but the movie basically downright tells you the quality ain't great. We understand the quality ain't great. We're not a high production movie studio. We are just a bunch of people that just wanted this brainchild to come to life. And I think we did better than what we should have done given the circumstances.
I just bought a book that said how to set up your shots, and I thought, I can make a movie now. You know, we planned it in 2012 when I was doing awful productions, and I felt like I could make a movie. How hard could it be? It was just pure ignorance. It was a mess. It was fun to make. It was absolutely fun to make. You know, there were issues constantly. Aaron no-showed the first filming day. You can see behind the scenes I'm miserable, like texting people, trying to work something out. But the people I filmed with were absolutely amazing. And we had a blast, despite how disorganized a mess it really was. But when he didn't show up, it ruined my mood. We didn't talk for about, I want to say about 2 years.
Since it was finished, I don't think at any point I have been able to sit down and watch the entire thing from start to end because it's that awful. I can't describe how unwatchable that movie is. And yet at the same time, I'm just incredibly impressed that it exists, that he managed to finish this thing that had like all of this dramatic stuff filmed in the UK with like the costumes and all that stuff, and then the scenes with people in America and YouTube celebrity guest appearances and stuff like this. It just amazes me that the thing ever got completed, and I think that's something that we have to remember. Is as awful as that film is, there's not many people who would have actually followed through and actually completed something like that. So I always take that away as a bit of a positive from Rob's perspective. But obviously over time, he's got much more professional what he did. It was, all of these problems seem to be based around the fact that he just too much ambition, too much putting his own feelings into things without ever seeing from other people's perspective that other people didn't have the same investment in what he was doing.
You know, at this point, there was so many reshoots, rewrites and everything, watching the same scenes over and over again, I just wanted Dark Knight Stumbles out at that point. I was done with it. I knew it sucked, I just wanted it done.
For various reasons, around the time that the movie was finished, me and him really fell out.
He offered to do the music completely free of charge. He didn't do it in time, and that really annoyed me. We had this whole argument about it and didn't talk for, it must be about 3 or 4 years.
It was one of those things where it didn't really need to be such a dramatic falling out, but, you know, as with everything, Rob somewhat overreacted, in my opinion.
It was stupid, you know, I overreacted. He was doing this favour for me completely free.
And said some things that really pissed me off, and then I got angry, and I was like, well, look, you know, I'm not gonna hang around and work with someone who, you know, this is kind of an unpaid gig. I felt like, you know, I'm not gonna hang around and work with someone who's gonna say this kind of stuff. But looking back at it as well, I did a lot of things where I think I treated it too much like, hey, I'm doing this work for free, so I didn't really put as much effort into it. So, I mean, there's so many things, you can see it from both sides. I can see why he was probably annoyed with me because of the fact that I was being way too relaxed about the projects that he was so passionate about. Because I was like, well, I'm just unpaid help. And yet at the same time, his reactions were completely just off the wall. But I think that again was because he was so passionate about the project, so passionate about this thing that he's making, so passionate about this thing he's working on. Do I regret doing the movie? Every time I even see a screenshot from it, yes. But assuming that no one ever watches that bloody awful thing, I'm kind of proud I did it to help a friend. And the improvements that I've seen in his channel and his work subsequently, that's kind of more why I'm happy that I did it, was for that. So I think that's the reason why I kept on watching, even after we fell out. I think that's the reason why I kept on watching occasionally, just every 6 months, just so, what's Rob doing on Cinematic Venom? Oh, that's better. Looks better. Oh, he's using some effects now. Oh, cool. Oh, wow. He actually learned how to use lighting. Yeah, I'm happy that I was part of that ladder. But please never watch that fucking movie. It's awful.